profile.
Okay. Can
Yeah.
you see me?
Yeah, I can see you very well and I can hear you very well, but I'm not sure about
Okay.
my name if it is displayed on on the system.
Okay, I'm trying to check. Yes, it is. I
Yes,
can
it
see
is.
it from
Yeah, I
here.
can see now. Yes, perfect.
Okay. You're welcome on board.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. I'm trying to, okay.
Upset Mr. Garcia's work. It makes sense for him to check it out.
Okay, we'll book you.
So where are you talking to us from, Oliver Messi? Are you still in UK?
Yeah, I'm in Sunderland, SR4.
Right. Yeah. Just like I arrived to Sunderland, I've been to Huddersfield, and it was like 2 hours drive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not that much far away. The good thing is the weather is good. It's not that much cold, I would say.
Yeah, the weather has
Yeah,
been good. Yeah, I agree with you.
yeah.
Okay. So we are starting the class in the next 1 minute. We
Right.
just have a minute
Yeah,
to start.
it's totally fine. I can recognize most of the names. I can read them. Like, for example, here we have Zainab Khalid and we have Ahmed Saghir, Osman, I think Khadija. Some of the names
How come it's the
in
Muslim names that
Arabic.
are resonating?
Yeah, in
Nigeria
Arabic
is a mixed
language.
country.
Yes. Yeah,
Nigeria is a mixed country,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you will
I'm talking about
try
like the names.
pronouncing the Yoruba names.
Yeah, I can see here, for example, there is Muhammad Abdullahi, okay, and Ahmed. Yeah, most of the names, I can recognize and I can read. Sometimes it is difficult with some of the names because I'm not used to, the to the
But if you
names.
can pronounce my name, you can pronounce anybody's name.
Yes, of course. But thanks to you, you helped me. Yeah, you and
Oh
the others.
God.
Yeah, you and the others and the whole group, helped me.
That's good. All right. So Jerry.
Ma.
Hello, Jerry.
Yes, ma.
Okay, so we are ready. We are ready to go now. So you can tell them to put on their videos. The class is starting.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, Balkis, Thomas, Toluani. So can we all put on our video? The class has started. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Well, you're all welcome to Golden Lamp Leadership Initiative Africa 8 weeks mentoring on research for nursing students. And we've been on this for a while, and we've been interacting in the group. Can we all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
All
We
right,
can hear
good.
you.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we're not going to waste time because we have a lot to do. In fact, the 8 weeks is not enough for everything we want to do. So we're just going to try as much as possible to run with time so that we can maximize the time we have. And to start the first week, we're having somebody that is I look up to highly. He has taught me in school. I've learned a lot from him. And everybody that has interacted with this man, they've never been the same because he's a very good teacher. He's very, very friendly, and he listens and he's able to give you your time at any point in time. He's not a Nigerian, he's a Syrian. For those of you that have seen his video, and his name is Zaki Brahimi. So I'm going to leave Zaki to introduce himself. He will be taking us on academic writing. And the reason is because we all know that you cannot do a good research write-up without understanding some basic principle about academic writing. So that is why we are introducing academic writing so that you can understand how to structure your write-up. If you have a good research and you don't have a good write-up, then you are not going to get the best of the points at the end of the day. So that's why we are starting with this. The faculty has met and they decided that it is a good thing to do. So for this week and next week, Zaki is going to be with us to do justice to this particular part of the lecture. So I hope we all grab the best. Please jot as much as you can jot and ask so many questions. So the structure, we've tried to introduce the structure to you. The first 15 minutes, the first 5 minutes an opening. Then we have lectures for like 1 hour. Then we're going to have 15 minutes activity. If I were you, if you have your topic, immediately is bringing on the activity, make sure you do it and post it so that you can get feedback on that activity. It will help you to structure your project. So I wish us all the best. Have a good time this evening. Okay, so we're going to be putting Zaki on right now.
Right.
So Zaki, the floor is yours.
Take over. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you very much for your introduction, Ali Messi, and it's really a great honor and a pleasure to be with you with such a distinguished audience like yourselves. First of all, I would like to introduce myself, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let me start by sharing the screen, and I wonder if you can see my screen. Now you can just put that on the chat. So... Right, I'm going here. I hope
yes, we can. We can see your screen clearly.
Right. The other thing is I would like to just put here the chat just to have nope. So the chat I don't know how am I going to have an access to chat in here. Right. Okay, because if like anyone has a question, so I can see. Yeah, that's it. So it was covered. Yep, perfect. Right, I can see the chat now. Right, so welcome to our session, Improving Your Academic Writing. So this is me, the speaker, Zaki Bahrami. And actually, as you can see here in the map, I come from Syria, the Middle East. And actually, the ones in dark blue resembles the places I taught and, I worked for. So I worked in Syria. Basically, it is in the Middle East. Between Palestine, Jordan, Iraq, and Turkey. And Then I got a BA in English Literature in 2006. I traveled to Saudi Arabia in 2007, where I taught English to young learners and also adults. In 2012, I got the CELTA, that is Certificate of English Language Teaching to Adults. And then I thought that I would need to, improve my skills and enhance my qualification. So I traveled to Sunderland in 2012, and I did the TESOL. And as you can see in here, MA in TESOL, that is Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. By the end of the year, in 2013, I graduated, and I started working as EAP teacher at Sunderland University. So I worked for undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, in sessional and pre-sessional, as EAP teacher, that is English for academic purposes. So helping students to improve their language skills up to the level that they can join their main courses. I'm also teaching EAP in the in-sessional, that is to help the students in their English, in their academic English, I would say. I also got a master in business management in 2017-18, and I opened a language center, but because of COVID, I had to close it, but it's still running online. And during the COVID, I worked for Huaqiao University, that is in China, in Fujian province near Hong Kong, and I worked there from 2021 to 2023. And now, I'm working for Sunderland University as an EAP teacher. So I worked for the top-up nursing students as well as the university students in general. So it's, as I said, great pleasure being with you. I have some knowledge, and I would like to share it with you in regards to academic writing, especially, in research. Now, I am a fellow of the higher education in 2021. Anyway, now as for the dates and times, we are going to have the first workshop, or you can call it as a first lecture, that is today, 1st of December. From 6 to 8, but as Olya Messi mentioned, that we are going to have the first, let's say, 5-10 minutes as an introduction, and then later on, a question I would like to ask you to warm up the session. And then later on, we are going to have another session that is going to be on the 8th of December, and again, the same time. And in here, actually, in the UK, it is 5 o'clock, but according to your time, it starts from 6 o'clock. What we're going to talk about. So today we are going to have set the foundation of academic writing. We are looking at some aspects that makes writing academic. And then later on, the second workshop is going to be about academic writing in research. And now in here, it's going to be in more in-depth, information about academic writing. We're going to talk about, hedging. We're going to talk about paraphrasing, and also the referencing and in-text citation. That's going to be next week. Now, during the session, if you have any question, I'm keeping an eye on the, on the chat box. So please let me know if you have a question, and at the end, I will do my best to answer. If I know the answer, I will answer straight away. If I don't, I will search for it, and then we'll come back to you with the answer either today or probably later on. Right, so let's get started, and let's talk about the foundations of academic writing. Now, I would like to ask you this kind of a warm-up question. What is academic writing, and what makes a piece of writing academic? So in the chat box, if you can, please, let's share knowledge, share information. What makes academic writing academic? So when you look at a piece of writing, a text, how do you know that this text is academic? So I would like you to take some time, let's say 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, if you can put on the chat, what makes you think that a writing is academic or is not? Right. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes to do that. Right. So waiting for your answers. Yeah, the question is, what makes academic writing academic? What is academic writing in general? Happy to see your answers on the chat. Let's, have it like an interactive one, please. Yeah, I've gotten here from Khadija, right? The first answer. Could you please participate? Tell me your opinion. There is no wrong or right answers, I would say, right? And non-fiction writing, that's part of academic work, okay? Right. So in here, when we're talking about non-fiction, okay, we're talking about that is something not, imaginative. You don't imagine things. It is probably away from being subjective, away from, feelings and emotions. Right. And here I have another answer from Chika. Okay, we'll be waiting, for the other answers. Right. Right, in here I have what makes academic writing is the tone, style, writing purpose of what the writer seeks to pass across. Yes, and here it depends on, having a clear message. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to convince the readers? Are you going to persuade them in a persuasive language? And what else? Academic writing is scholarly writing intended to give information about the topic. Is formal style and non-fiction writing true? That has to do with writing about specific field of study, right? Okay. So it is a kind of focused, Elizabeth, has a focused message, right? What else? Academic writing, scholarly writing that is done to improve knowledge. Yeah, so in here we come up with a clear conclusion at the end. Is a type of write-up that is scientific in methods that add to the body of knowledge of education. True. And again, we say that academic writing, then in this case, it is a systematic way, since you are talking about using scientific methods. Academic writing is a formal writing which communicates ideas, information to an academic community. All right, is it just only to academic community, or is it also for public people? I mean, public people, don't they have access to, academic journals? And then in this case, is it just only for academic people, for scholars, or is it also for public people? So in this case, we would use a formal, a simple, clear language that can be understood by, many people. Academic writing based on critical thinking. Yes, of course. And I wish that we would have time to talk about this particular bit of it, but probably because of the 2 sessions we're having, we are going to focus on, other parts of academic writing. Then academic writing is an objective rather than subjective, true, and solely the purpose of education, formal tone. Yes, okay, yeah. And again here, the last answer by Precious, it is characterized by clear, precise, objective language aimed at presenting ideas, arguments, or research findings in a structured and logical manner. Yes. So, thank you very much for your participation in this. Now, looking at, academic writing, as you can see in here, in all of your answers that I have read, we can see that you talked about having a formal tone. So in this case, we are being formal than informal. We have to put that in mind, not to use, for example, slang language. Also, to have a clear structure. So most of academic writing starts like probably with a clear introduction, and then later on a body, and then where the arguments, ideas, and examples, supporting details, and then later on there is the conclusion. In academic writing, it is also a thesis driven. We have a clear idea of what we're talking about at the beginning of the paragraph. Also, as you already mentioned, a critical analysis of the topic you are discussing. Also, the use of evidence. So it is research based. It is based on sometimes facts as well as studies. Also, when talking about academic writing, we're talking about the clarity. We should be clear when we try to, express or deliver our message. Also, academic writing includes having accurate grammar. So it is the sentences, all the sentences should be or must be grammatically correct. Also, we're talking about formal citation. So if we are talking about the use of evidence, then in this case, I need to cite the sources. I need to say where I got these sources from, where I got the information from. Also about impersonality. So most of what you have said, you mentioned the non-fiction. So non-fiction in here, it is a kind of objective language. It's impersonal, being a way of being subjective. Okay, it's not about like what you believe, rather than on what facts and what you have found and you present to the readers. Talking about the structure of academic papers, today I would like to focus on two structures. So for example, in general assignments, it will have the essay structure. So but we are going to focus on the research bit of it. But as for the sake of knowing an essay, so basically we have the introduction, and then later on we have the body. And now the body, how many paragraphs in the body depends on what I am trying to write about. So for example, if we're talking about the certain problem, a health problem, so we are talking in here about, let's say, problem 1, problem 2, and then later on the paragraph, the third paragraph, it would be, let's say, about the solutions. So again, in here, the number of paragraphs is determined about what kind of writing you are doing. So are you doing like a problem solution essay, or are you just talking about the problems, or are you talking about a solution for certain problems, or are you just giving an explanation or understanding towards certain phenomenon? And then finally in here there is the conclusion. And as you can see in here, when looking at the introduction and the conclusion, we can find like a kind of an upside down triangle in the introduction, and then later on we have a normal triangle. The reason for this is because, like, when I am writing my introduction, I start by general ideas, and then I go and move towards more specific ideas towards my topic, what my topic is going to talk about. So I start with general background information, moving to more specific ideas. As for the conclusion, you would see that it is just a normal triangle where I start by what this essay was about, and then later on I finish by probably a general conclusion after summarizing the main points. Or also you can end up your essay by asking just an open question. However, moving from an essay to a research, we will find that it is the kind of logic, it's a bit different. And here we would start with an introduction, and then later on here we have the literature review. And probably, as you may know, or you have come across, the literature review, or probably the introduction, sometimes in some research, they combine both introduction with literature review. Anyway, so the literature review is about all the research that has been done about the topic that you are trying to investigate. So in here, in the literature review, you're trying to show the reader that you are knowledgeable about the topic that you are discussing. At the same time, in the literature review, you need to reach a point where you're going to tell the reader that there is a gap in the knowledge, okay, and this this piece of study is trying to fill in the gap that you don't know, and that is the one that you are trying to investigate. So basically, the literature review is about what you know about your topic and what you don't know. Now then, the logic goes on into, talking about the methodology. Now, in the methodology in here, you are trying to tell the reader how you are going to answer your research question. Are you going to use quantitative research methods, or are you going to use qualitative research methods? So in here, basically, in the methodology, you are telling the reader how you try to find an answer to certain, questions. So, for example, if you are working in a health care clinic, okay, and you're talking about, the phenomenon of nurses burnout, okay, the workload that nurses suffer from, then in this case, you need to have a question in your mind, okay, probably you are investigating the impact of burnout on nurses, okay, working or those who are doing, night shifts. So again, in here, you have a question. How are you going to answer this question? In the methodology, in here, you try to say whether you're going to use quantitative or qualitative methods. Then later on, there is the time where you are going to have what we call the presenting the data or the discussion. In here, you discuss the data on the light of previous literature, and also on the light of your findings, what you have found. And then finally, as you can see in here, there is the conclusion, where you are going to summarize what you have done in your research, and at the end, you need to summarize the main ideas, main findings. And finally, there is like the section for recommendations or suggestions. At the end, also, there is a place where you are going to do some suggestions for further research. Anyway, so we talked here about, the logic. It's logical, it is systematic, okay? There is, a certain procedure that we have to follow in order, to publish a piece of research. Now, as for the academic writing, as for today, we're talking about the avoiding slang and colloquialism when we write. But I would say here that when you do this, the piece of advice I would give, do not apply what we learn when you first start writing. Okay, so because these will hinder you, these will, pose a kind of a challenge for you. I would say that you have your first draft written, and then later on, you have these applied. So, for example, you start writing, you can use a slang language, you can use, the contractions, you can use just, normal, everyday spoken language. And then later on, talking about these points, like avoiding slang and colloquialism, this can be like at a later stage. You can say when you edit your piece of writing. So when you start your piece of writing, when you're, for example, writing a piece of literature, start straight away, okay? And you can use, you know, the slang language, and you can use, you know, you can, I would say, you don't pay much attention to the standard English. So I would say, do your first draft and leave these at a later stage. Then, in this case, for example, you have done your first a draft of the literature review, of your methodology, of your, you know, presenting the data, and then at a later stage you can now hit these points. So avoid the slang and colloquialism. Use a standard English rather than the conversational language. So in here, for example, kids these days have a lot on their plate. So for example, in here, when you have this sentence, you have written this sentence as a first draft. Then at a later stage, when you are doing your second draft, or probably the third draft, you're doing the editing before the publishing, then in this case, you would move from informal language to a formal one. So let's look at here. The word kids, okay, has changed to young people. All right, these days to today, or you can say the current days or nowadays. Okay, and again in here, have a lot on their plate. So you see in here this informal conversational language, it can change to, you know, face numerous challenges. So instead of saying a lot, we change the vocabulary to numerous. And when we're talking about a lot on their plate, we're talking here about difficulties, challenges, etc. So as you can see in here, it's been changed to face numerous challenges. Next, maintain objectivity. I know it's not easy for us to do that. At the end of the day, we are human. You know, we sometimes have bias towards certain, you know, ideas or certain concepts. So in here, when we're talking about academic writing, we need to maintain objectivity. Now, in our writing, as you can see in here, it is better that we use the third person perspective, okay? Write in the third person, avoiding personal pronouns like I and we. So in this case, the thing is, it's not about me as a researcher, I and I and I, unless you are writing a reflection. If you are writing a piece of reflection writing, that would be fine. Okay, you'll be talking about your experience at the end of the day. However, when we have a piece of writing, academic piece of writing, then in this case, we would I would say refrain from using we and he and she, okay, rather than using, you know, they, okay, and you know, and try to be neutral and objective. So an example for this would be, and instead of saying I think this study shows, so we can say, you know, this study demonstrates. So in this case, I would use the pronoun probably it. It shows, it demonstrates, indicates, it indicates, or you can say, for example, it is recommended, it is suggested, rather than you would say, you know, at the end of your research, I suggest the following. So you can say it can be suggested, it can be suggested, it is suggested, okay? So in here, I'm using the third person singular, it, and instead of using I or we as a first person singular, or we as, you know, a first person plural. Now, next, as for, you know, contractions. Now, in academic writing, we need to avoid using, you know, abbreviated language, or I would say in short, you know, cut language. Now, in here, write words in full. So, for example, instead of saying like do not, okay, this study don't or doesn't, sorry, doesn't show, doesn't, you know, highlight, etc. So in this case, use do not instead of don't, cannot instead of saying can't, or the same thing when we talk about does not, instead of using does, doesn't. So in here, let's look at this sentence. It doesn't provide enough evidence, so I can say it does not provide sufficient evidence. As you can see in here, we have the word enough. I resort to using a different adjective, which is sufficient. So probably in the conversational one, we use the word enough. However, in the academic language, we try to use, I would say, uncommon vocabulary. Okay, so like the word in here, sufficient. Or, for example, if it was like, it doesn't give enough evidence. So instead of saying give, okay, we would say provide. Now, choose the appropriate vocabulary, like the one that we showed above. So elevate word choice. And again in here, as I told you, this will be at a later stage. Do not do this, in the first draft. In the first draft, let your thoughts go ahead, okay? Because there will be time where we're going to edit our work. Luckily, we are not doing an IELTS test. It's not an IELTS. In the IELTS, we don't have time, and that's why, the selection of words will be, very limited option. However, in here, when you're writing your research, you let your thoughts, okay, go on, okay, and type and write, use conversational, language, but leave the editing at a later stage. Then I would say you need to choose appropriate vocabulary. So select words that are sophisticated but appropriate for your audience. Now, luckily we have ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT for this purpose. For me, probably I am from the old traditional school that I have a dictionary next to me. Okay, and then later on I resort to an electronic version of dictionary. So I would use Oxford Dictionary, or I would use the Encarta Dictionary. But now you can use the ChatGPT, which can help you, choose the right vocabulary. So in this case, for example, we have the word a lot of, so you can say a significant amount of, or a considerable amount. So in this case, you would work on the vocabulary. So in the editing process, you would focus on checking this vocabulary that you have used in your first or second draft, and then later on changing it into more academic one. Right. So far, does anybody have any question? Right in here, let me check here. Yeah, if any questions, I'm trying to check the box. Not yet, thank you, Zainab. All right, probably later on. If you have any, please put them on the chat box. Right, moving on. Now, in academic writing, use formal transitions. Now, in here, when we're talking about formal transitions, because they will guide the reader through your piece of writing. So in here, phrases for formal writing utilize phrases like in addition, moreover, furthermore, therefore, and consequently, to connect ideas smoothly. And this is actually what we call the cohesion and coherence when you're talking about. So when you are, let's say, presenting your argument and you're trying to defend, this argument, or probably providing an evidence or providing an explanation, then in this case, you would need to use this transition language, or what we call the discourse markers. So sometimes when reading a text, okay, how would you know that this text is being critical? Actually, using the transition words tells us whether the text is being critical or not. For example, when we're talking about an idea, and then later on you would find the author trying to use, on the other hand, conversely, okay, using however, but. So using these transition words, or probably the conjunctions, but, would tell you that the author is trying to be, critical. Now, in here we talked about, having the text logical and at the same time cohesive and coherent. So in here we have some transition words that show, let's say, the sequence of ideas, when you use first, second, third, after that, following this, and finally. And also you would have some words to show similar ideas, like when you use similarly, in a similar way, or you use, for example, alternatively. Okay, or you use one that shows the opposite ideas. So again, as I mentioned, like the use of the word however, on the other hand, and conversely. Also, when we are talking about, addition, like adding ideas, when you use in addition, furthermore, moreover, etc. And when you want to conclude your ideas, so you may use like to sum up, in conclusion, in summary, and so on. And again, if you would like to use the illustrative language. So, for example, you're giving an example. You say, for example, such as this includes and this involves, etc. So again, in here, using transition language, it will help the reader navigate through your writing, and it will show that the text that you have written is coherent, cohesive, and it makes sense and also logical and presenting your ideas. So on top of that, it's clear. So instead of saying that, you can say, furthermore, it's evident that. Now, as I mentioned before, and as you already put it, but in a different way, you said that it is non-fictional language. So in here, we try to avoid emotional language. So being objective, and objective language, we refrain from using overly emotional or exaggerated expressions. So for example, it was shocking to see in this study, checking this study, observing this study, examining this study, it was shocking to see, it was shocking to know. So again in here, the word shock, a kind of like you are putting your own sentiments, your own feelings and emotions. So in this case, you would use probably, it was unexpected to observe. Okay, in an interesting study. In an interesting study. So you would use here the word interesting study. So use formal, okay, and objective language instead of being emotional. Like it's surprising to know, it's surprising to see, or probably you would say it is interesting to see that X and Y and Z. Right. Let's do some practice time in here, and we're gonna look at some of the sentences. Oh, all right. Just a moment. If you bear with me, I'm not going to show here the answers. There was in here. Right. Just a sec. If you bear with me a second, please. Thank you. Right. In here. Right. So. Right. All right. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to take this away, right? And I'm going to share this with you. Sorry about this technical problem. Right. Right. Can you see that? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you very much. So in here, looking at this sentence, what we found in our tests matches what others thought might happen. Now in here, looking at this informal sentence, as I told you, this would be like a sentence that you have written in your first draft. Okay, so how are we going to change it into a formal one? And that will be, let's say, before publishing. So again, you are working on editing your work, and now we are changing this informal sentence to a formal one. So probably I would say like the experimental results align with. So as you can see, instead of saying the word matches, I would say align with the theoretical predictions proposed by previous researchers. Okay, now let's look at here at the second one. I will give you this one. The main idea of this paper, okay, is supported by the numbers we give later on. And then again in here, I have this informal sentence. So could you please put on the chat, how would you change this sentence and make it formal one? Any suggestions? So you can take your time, okay, and put this on the chat. So the main idea of this paper is supported by the numbers we give later on. So as you can see in here, the word, you know, later on, and the main idea, what would you say instead? The same thing, looking at. So the word looking at, I'm using here a verb and a preposition. A verb is looking with ing. It is a noun in here, in this case. And then at, a preposition. So instead of saying looking at the whole history, really. So you see the word really, it's a kind of conversational one. Helped us figure out. And again in here, the use of, you know, a prepositional phrase. Again, I'm using here a prepositional, I would say, phrase. So in here I have figure and then out. The word figure, it is a verb, and the word out is a preposition. So what can we say instead of saying the word figure out? What happened? Any ideas, any suggestions? Please put that on the chat. Right, I'm going to give you some time to work on this. I can put the sentences discovered instead of yes, thank you very much. Yeah, and as I told you, this will be like at a later stage. Instead of figure, we can use understand, okay, to understand what happened. Yeah, to comprehend, probably. You know, we have the word understand and the word comprehend to, you know, vary the vocabulary. Figure out, to conclude. Okay, we can do that. What else? So I'm going to copy the sentence. Just a moment. So in here, I'm having here this sentence. I'm going to copy it and put it in here. So that's the first one. And then in here, there is the second one. Right. Right, so here I've got like an answer. So the discovered results proved what previous researchers found. Okay, right, and the central argument of this paper, all right, yeah, is substantiated by the data presented subsequently. Yes, perfect. The evidence shown on this paper collaborated with the data obtained. Numbers to results, okay, yeah. Yeah, you can say that by the results, by, we can say also by the data. Yeah. Right. What I'm trying now to do, I'm going to share, you know, the answers with you. So in here, I'm going to share it. Right. So let's looking at here. Right. Now, the thesis of this paper is reinforced, okay, by the data presented, by the results presented in subsequent sections. And again, instead of saying like a whole history, we can say a comprehensive analysis of the historical context was integral, okay, to understand the events that occurred. So changing the word happen to occur. Yeah, I can see that some of you worked on a word level. And this is actually the way of doing it. First, we start by word, and then later on, you know, phrases, like you said, figure out. Instead of using figure out, we can say discovered or concluding. And some of you said understand. And as you can see in here, in the answer below, okay, there is understanding the events that occurred. Now, let's look at this sentence. The numbers we got, and again, as you can see in here, got, you know, it is conversational, are a good starting point for more research in this area. Yes, thank you very much here, Mbwanku. So saying examining the whole history revealed the past occurrence. Okay, yeah, cool. So looking at this, again, the numbers we got, the data, the results collected in this study serves as a cornerstone for further investigation in this field. Okay, also, let's say in the first draft, you have written this sentence, they come up, it came up. So in here, the word came up, what can we change it? What can we say instead? So came up with really careful guesses to check how things are connected. So instead, I can say that research hypotheses were meticulously, so you see, instead of saying careful guesses, okay, meticulously formulated to test specific relationships between variables. I'm going here to give the last sentence. What people said in the survey gave us big ideas that go beyond just this one project. So probably I would say the survey responses. And as you can see in here, I am using an objective language. And instead of saying like what people said, we're talking here about the responses. The survey responses yielded valuable insights that transcend the boundaries of this particular study. All right. Cool. Let's move on. We do have like about 10 minutes, and I'm going to talk quickly about one aspect, two aspects of academic writing, that is the use of passive voice. And in here, we need to use it appropriately, because using passive voice, you move from being subjective to be more objective. So passive voice, you need to use it when necessary, and most researchers will be using it in the methodology section. Okay, so because the researchers need to, show that they are impersonal and they are objectives. They are focusing on the object, on the topic, rather than focusing on themselves. So in this case, they try to use impersonal tone, but trying not to overuse it. So for example, we conducted the experiment, we conducted a study, I conducted a study. So instead of saying I conducted a study, because the focus is not on me as the researcher, rather than it is on the study, it is on the experiment. So in this case, in the methodology, you may say the experiment was conducted on. So for example, for me, when I did my first piece of research, I conducted a study on 30 EAP Chinese students. Now, in my thesis, in my research paper, I actually wrote the following. 30 EAP students were asked, okay, about X and Y and Z, okay? Or probably I would say a study was conducted, okay? 30 EAP students were asked, okay, about their feelings and attitudes towards X and Y. So as you can see in here, the focus is on the students, it is on the study, rather than on me, the researcher. It's not about like me, I conducted a study. It's about, the topic itself. A study was conducted. Now, another aspect of academic writing, actually the use of complex sentence structure. All right. Now, in here, using complex sentence structure and using wide range of sentence structure is part of academic, writing. So, variety in sentence length and type. So, we need to employ a mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences to convey ideas more effectively. So, in here, for example, a study was done last year. I used here a simple sentence and another simple sentence. It showed interesting results. So as you can see in here, I have one simple sentence and I have another simple sentence. What I need to do, I can use a more complex sentence structure. So I can say a study which was conducted last year revealed intriguing results. So as you can see in here, I use the word which is a relative pronoun. I'm going to talk to you quickly about, the various sentences structure. So in here, there are 3 different kinds, generally speaking. Some people, they would say they are 4. I would say there are 3 main sentence structures. The first one is the simple, the second compound, and then there is the complex sentence structure. Some people, they would say, or some grammar books, they would say there are 4. They would say that there is a complex and compound. So number 4 is a complex and compound sentences. But generally speaking, if we have, a complex and compound sentence, this makes it a complex sentence. So that's why some grammar books, they would say that it is, there are 3 kinds of sentence structure: simple, compound, and complex. Talking about the simple sentences, so these are sentences that contain one independent clause and no dependent clauses. So in here, when we're talking about an independent clause, it means a clear and an idea that makes sense. And as we're talking about dependent clause, it means incomplete thought or incomplete idea. So for example, if I say because it is 6 o'clock in the UK and I stop, it doesn't make sense. Okay, in this sentence, if I just stop. So if I say again, if we finish this session and then I don't continue, then it's this case, it makes it a dependent clause. So in here we have one independent clause. It means one complete idea. An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb that can stand alone as a complete thought. So in here we have a sentence that makes sense. So for example, the study focuses on climate change and researchers collected data from various sources. As you can see in here, it is independent. This sentence, it makes sense. Now, researchers collected data from various sources, or you can say the statistics and graphs illustrate the main findings. Okay, as you can see in here, we have 2 subjects with a verb, okay, in one sentence, one complete thought. Now, looking at compound sentences, then in this case, we are talking about 2 or more independent clauses. And again, there is no dependent clause. So in here, an explanation of what independent clause is. So let's look at here. We have in here 2 sentences. So the researchers gathered extensive data. This is a sentence of its own and with one idea. And now in here, as you can see in here, there is another sentence, a complete thought. They analyzed the results thoroughly. Now, what did we do? We combine these sentences, these 2 sentences, with a conjunction. Now, the first sentence, we can see that the subject, researchers, and gathered is a verb. However, in the second sentence, you can see in here, again, it has its own subject and its own verb. Now, let's check in here another sentence. This is a compound sentence again. Now, in here, we have many students struggle with academic writing, comma, this is a full sentence with a full meaning, okay? Yet they improve with practice. And the same thing in here. Now, the conjunctions that are used in compound sentences, they are all compiled in one word. It's called fanboys. So we have the word for, F, F44, okay, as you can see in femboys. So F44, and then later on we have in here A for and then as you can see in here, N for nor. Okay, I'm writing that down on the chat. Please check the box, the chat box. So N for nor and B for but. Okay, and then O for or, and then we have Y for yet. These are the conjunctions that are used in compound sentences. And then finally in here, S for so. Okay, now let's check in here the complex sentence structure. As for the complex sentence structure, as you can see in here, we need to find and we need to have a dependent and independent. So in here, let's look at this sentence. Although the study aimed to assess the impact of social media on mental health. So as you can see in here, this is a comma, okay? And if we stop the sentence, it doesn't make sense. So if I say, although the study aimed to assess the impact of social media on mental health, and I stopped, it doesn't make sense. It is incomplete thought. So that makes it a complex sentence structure by having, you know, an independent thought following it. The results revealed unexpected patterns in user behavior. Now, the same thing in here, when we use, for example, a word like while many scholars agree on the importance of early childhood education. Yeah. Then some argue that the focus should also include parental involvement. And as you can see in here, we use complex sentence structure with if clauses or the conditionals. So as you can see, you can start if at the beginning, but if you start it at the beginning, please do not forget to put a comma. Okay, because we have one part of the conditional and then there is the other part of the conditional. And sometimes, some, researchers, they forget about the punctuation and they don't pay much attention to punctuation, which is also part of academic writing. Okay? Because it will make the text clearer. And we already talked about clarity and being clear in academic writing. The experiment could potentially fail if key variables are not controlled. So as you can see in here, the word here, if, it comes in the middle of the complex sentence. And again, in here, you would notice that there is no comma, okay? Because, you just put the if conditional in the middle. Right. Now, let's check in here and do some kind of analysis quickly. I would like to go to an example that, thankfully, Olumisi has passed to me. So, can you see the article? Family planning attitudes of women and affecting factors. So, checking here this article. As you can see, it has a clear structure, starting with an introduction, and then later on you can see in here the material and method. So the methodology, it means the way that they use to collect the data. And then there is in here the data analysis, what they used, and then the presentation of the results. There is the discussion of the results, and there should be the conclusion with the list of references. Let's look at one of the, sentences in here. All right. So as you can see in here with me, looking at the first sentence. Right. In recent years, although there have been a significant developments in our country, the effects of these developments on the indicators of population and health are not yet sufficient. So looking at this sentence, this is, I call it a complex sentence. Why? As you can see in here, there is the word although. And looking at the sentence, you would notice there is here the comma. So that is, we call it the dependent clause because it cannot stay on its own. I cannot say, although there have been significant developments in our country, and stop. I need to continue. As you can see in here, there is the comma and there is now the independent idea. Now again, in here, according to results of Turkey, now population and health research, both the birth, what kind of sentence is this? Till the end. So I'm going to tell you to analyze this sentence. I'm going to put it in green color. So what do you think? What kind of sentence is this? I'm going to just a moment. So in here, this is the sentence in here. Yeah, what kind of sentence is this? What do you think? Again, in here, looking at the word according to the results of the Turkey. This is not a, by the way, this is not a sentence. It is just a phrase. Okay? It's just oppositional phrase. You can just like delete it. You can say, you can start the sentence by saying population and health research, both the birth and abortion statistics are still at high levels. So what do you think? What kind of sentence is this? This is actually a simple sentence. You can see in here, yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you can see in here population and health research. Okay, both the birth and abortion statistics are. So we are talking here about, the subject and then the verb. There is are still at high levels. Let's look at here. It is indicated that blah, 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 blah till the end. What kind of this sentence? I'm going to put it in a different color. Right. Yes. What about the one in orange? What do you think? Do you think it's a compound? Let's look at here. Look at the word that. It is a relative pronoun. The word that. So in here we have a sentence inside another sentence. Actually, it is a complex sentence. Okay? Yeah, because you cannot say it is indicated that and stop. Okay, so we have in here a sentence inside another sentence, inside another one. Look at here the word because. Again, in here, it is a complex sentence. However, let's look at this. What do you think? I'm going to put it in blue. What kind of sentence is this? Let's analyze the sentence. Each year, again, it is just a noun phrase. Okay, use of contraceptive methods increase, but the necessity for family planning services still continues. So what do you think of this sentence? Is it simple? Could you please double check? Double check here. You remember the conjunction but when we talked about fanboys? Yes, it is compound. So the first sentence actually is the use of contraceptive methods increase. So this is the subject and the word increase is a verb. And then later on in here, the necessity for family planning services, services still continues. So when we talk about the necessity, okay, for the services still continues. This is the subject and the verb continues is the verb. The word continues is the verb. So this is actually a compound sentence. Now let's check the other one. And I'm going to put it in, let's say, purple. I love purple. Yeah. But actually, my favorite color is blue. Anyway, so the unmet rate of contraceptive necessity is 7.9%. This is actually a simple sentence. Yeah. Women are influenced by several factors while preferring contraceptive methods. Again, in here, it's a simple sentence. Now, next, these can be summarized as the reliability of the method, false beliefs, etc. Of course, it is, in here, I would say, this can be summarized, reliability, Okay, society. Okay, again, in here, it is a simple sentence. Right. Let's analyze the final one. In here, what do you think? What kind of this sentence? Yeah, the final one. Okay, the one in purple. What do you think? Look at here. We have the word, because of religious belief. So we have a sentence inside another sentence. So in this case, we have dependent and independent sentence. Yes, it is, we call it a complex sentence. Yeah, it is a complex sentence. Especially, as I told you, when we have, a sentence inside another sentence. Right. We did the analysis. I'm going in here now to finish and wrap up for our, I would say, assignment of the week based on what we covered today in the session. Today, we talked about, what makes academic writing academic. We talked about formality. We talked about objectivity. We talked also about the structure. We talked about the use of, the wide range of sentence structures. Based on this and what we covered in the session, you need to write the literature review of your research project, or probably part of the literature review, and make sure that you apply the following. So in here, avoid using slang language, avoid contractions, avoid subjective language instead of using I or we. Again, in here, try to use the third person singular, use more academic vocabulary and formal transition words. As I said, the transition words, they help us when we move in our ideas, when we try to be critical and show, both sides of the argument or arguments that we have. We need to avoid the emotional language, and we need also to work on using passive voice. As I told you, this will be mainly used in the methodology section, and also use wide range of sentence structure. Right. Does anybody have any questions so far? Right, I'm going to stop the sharing. Please let me know if you have any question. Right, I'm going to stop the sharing. Any questions about what we covered today? Next week, hopefully, we are going to talk about, paraphrasing. We're going to talk also about referencing and in-text citation. Right. Okay. Thank you for your question here. You're not clear about classifying of sentences. Right. I'm going here then in this case, share my screen again. Yeah. All right. I'm going to share the screen in here. Right. So, can you see my screen? Hopefully, yes. Right. So if you check in here, we said that in sentence structure, we have three kinds of sentence structure. We have the simple and compound and the complex. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get here these sentences. Okay, so in here, I'm going to get this sentence, copy, and then I'm going to put it in a Word file. So in a simple sentence, as you can see in here, I'm going just to put the design layout, sorry, here, yeah, just to make it bigger. So researchers collected data from various sources. Now in here, we're talking about researchers. This is the subject. And in here, as you can see, this is the verb. Now, this is actually, we call it a simple sentence because it has a complete, a thought, and it makes sense, okay? A complete idea. We have subject and we have the verb. Okay, so researchers, they are the people who did the collection of data, and then we have the verb collected. Now, if we check in here this sentence, for example, okay, I'm going to copy this sentence, copy, and put it here. Right, let's check this sentence, and I'm going just to make it a little bit smaller so it can fit. Right. And again, smaller. Right. I hope it is clear for everyone. All right, anyway. So in here, I have, as you can see in here, two sentences. This is sentence 1 and this is sentence 2. Now what I can do, look, I can change this compound sentence into 2 sentences and 2 simple sentences. I can say in here, the researchers gathered extensive data. So in here, I have the subject and gathered is the verb, right? Do you agree with me so far? Is that clear so far? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for responding. Now, again in here, we have the word they is the subject, and then in here, analyzed is the verb. Now, this is a simple sentence, and this is here a simple sentence. What I want to do, I want to make a compound sentence. So I can connect between the two using a conjunction. And as I told you, the conjunctions, all of them are in one word, fanboys. F for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. Now in here, I'm going to use and to connect between the two. Okay, I'm going to put it in here in this color. So in order to do this, I use and now in here, I connect these 2 sentences, and now this is a compound sentence structure. So this is a compound sentence structure, and as you can see, I connected between the two using and. This is one sentence, okay, in here, and I have in here another sentence. One sentence with complete thought, complete idea. Okay, the researchers gathered extensive data. Fine, full stop. And I have another sentence with complete thought, with a subject and a verb. So they analyzed the results thoroughly. Now, what I need to do is just like combining these 2 sentences together using the conjunction and. Now, this makes it a compound sentence. And as you can see in here, all of these are compound sentences. Why? Because I have 2 independent sentences connected with a conjunction, either and, yet, but, or. Is that clear so far? I think your name was, or your name is, yes, Timi Lua. Yeah. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. I apologize. Or I can say Olajidi. Yeah. Thank you. Now that is here the compound sentence structure. Now let's move to complex sentence structure. So as you can see in here, in this sentence, let me take this one. This is a complex sentence. So I'm going to take it here. Now I'm going to delete this. And let's look at here. I have here what we call a conditional sentence. Now, if the sample size is sufficiently large, now looking at this, this is incomplete thought. Does it make sense to you if I just stop like this? Well, actually, this, we call it, this is a clause. We don't call it a sentence because it's incomplete, thought. Okay, it doesn't make sense on its own, and that's why we call it dependent. And sometimes, I used to tell my students, when we say dependent, it's like a child. It cannot stand on its own. It's not an adult. Okay, so in here, if the sample size is sufficiently large, and as you can see in here, I have a sample size is the subject, and in here I have is the verb. Okay, sorry. I'm going to put it, yeah. So, but again in here, this clause, okay, or this phrase is incomplete idea or incomplete thought. So in this case, I would say it doesn't make sense. What we actually need, we need to connect it with, an independent thought. So again in here, I have that researchers can draw more reliable conclusions from the data collected. Now, check with me this, Olijadi. If I delete this, actually, this makes it a complete thought. This is a complete idea, a complete sentence. It has subject. That is the subject, and it has a verb. Okay? And, it makes sense. The researchers can draw more reliable conclusions from the data collected. So this one, we call it independent because it cannot stay on its own. It can stay on its own, okay? Because it is a complete thought, a complete idea, all right? I just need to put like in here, in this case, I need to put capital letter and then it's complete thought and correct, grammatically correct sentence. Now, in a complex sentence structure, you would find that there are two clauses. One clause is dependent and another clause is independent. So again, in here, I can write this sentence in two different ways. So for example, I can do this. I can say like this sentence. Okay, that researchers can draw more reliable conclusions from the data collected if the sample size is sufficiently, large. So I can do this. And again, I would say that this is a complex sentence. Why? Because I have one independent clause, this one, and I have a dependent clause, this one. Now, does that make sense, Olijadi? And when we looked at the example in here, when we did the analysis in here, we tried to find out whether the sentences are used in here are simple, compound, or complex. And as you notice in here that the writer, or I don't know, the writer or writers, yeah, writers, I think, yeah. Or, yeah, the writers, two writers. So in here, the writers used various sentence structure. All right, yeah. Let me check if there are any other questions. Please, what is the difference between complex and compound sentence? I explained that, but quickly, briefly, the compound sentence, we are talking about two simple sentences compound with a conjunction. In a complex sentence, I'm talking about dependent and independent clauses. Okay? Right. Hope this makes sense. Is that clear, Chica? Chica Jones. I hope it is clear. Right. Now, what I would ask you to do, just to do, the analysis for the sentences, okay, that you can see in here, right? And if you check in here, the sample group comprised of women who are older than 15 years old, married, etc. This is, okay, sentence, okay, as you can see in here, using who are older than, married and living. Okay. All right. You see here using 300 women were included in this research. This is the passive were included. 300 women were included in the research. This is a simple sentence. Right. All right. I'm going to stop the sharing now. And if you have any question, either now or later on, you can just put it on the chat, or probably you can send it to Oliye Messi, and then I'm happy to answer your questions. Right. Oliye Messi, over to you. Sorry, Oliye Messi, you are muted.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
I'm sure that, well, I don't know, there's something interesting about learning. No matter how much you think you know, when you hear somebody else take the lecture, it just keeps getting better and better. It keeps getting better and better. Have we learned anything today? Have we learned anything today at
Hopefully,
all?
it's
Learned
just
something?
like sharing ideas,
Yeah.
some
Can you
knowledge,
put
some
an
like
emoji for Zaki in the chat room so that he can actually see if you've learned something? Just give him an emoji.
Yeah, of course. I will be sending. Thank you, Zainab, for your inquiry. Yeah, I'll be sending the material to Oliye Messi, and then she will hopefully, pass it to you. You are most welcome.
All right. So, Zaki, can you kindly copy the activity for the week and put in the chat box so that it will be easy to quickly repost it to the groups?
Right. Yeah, of course. Just a moment. I'll do that right away. So
now, to quickly have a recap of what we have done. So, we need to quickly give in the next 5 minutes.
Thank you very much for your kind words. I really, appreciate your kind words, and I wish you a lovely evening today. Here is the, I would say, the activity to do. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you very much. This means a lot to me. Thank you. And thank you for your participation today. Hopefully next week when I see you, we are going to talk about paraphrasing, avoiding plagiarism, probably looking at critical
analysis.
Criticality in academic texts, and also looking at citation and in-text citation and referencing. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Zaki.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a lovely evening.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So for everybody in the class, we are going to be posting the activity for the week. Already we have been assigned our mentors from group 1 to group 12. We have our mentors there in the group with us. So they're going to be taking over from here. So for this week's activity, as Zaki has explained, we already have our topics, okay? So you are going to just write like 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs from your topic, your chosen topic. So pretend as if you are writing your literature review, then take notes of the points that he has listed clearly in the presentation to be sure that you have the right thing. So you can first of all do that. Then the second thing you have to do, remember that each of us, we have been told that for the topic that you have chosen, choose 2 or 3 articles that is related to the topic that you have chosen or the topic you have written on. Because we know that some of you, you've written your projects already. Those of you in 500 level, or those of you that have just graduated, we know you've done the work already. But we're saying that go online, choose 2 or 3 articles, published articles related to your topic. Then look at what Zaki has done today. So that is what is called analyzing. Pick an aspect of that article, then analyze where is the simple sentence structure here, where is the compound sentence structure, and where is the complex. Now, these articles, this is what we are going to be using throughout. When you are doing sampling, when you are doing design, you are going to continuously refer to these articles for you to be able to know what a good write-up looks like. So that is why we say choose 2 or 3 articles related to your topic. So continuously you make reference to it. So it guides you as you go along. And let me just say something here quickly. I know that these days it's online, everybody is, but you know, whether you like it or not, some people have paid for this program to be successful. Some investments have gone into this program to be successful. Some people have paid their time, some people have spent their money, some people have spent other resources to ensure that this program is resources. But what is just required of us as nurses is, number one, our professionalism, and secondly, our sense of responsibility. We have 379 people registered for this course. But right now in this course, I can only say 60 people. You guys have done this before. In September, we spent about 2.5 million to bring a consultant to train us on BLS. And at the end of the day, we have only, I think, about 15 people turned up for the training. So this time around, I've made up my mind, I'm not doing that. So once we say this is the time, it is the time. If you're not in the time, we shut down, you cannot have access to class. And when we request that you participate effectively, if a lecturer that is HOD of a department has left a time to mentor you on a particular project, if you are not in the class 2 times, we'll log you out. So you're not paying any money for this, it's just free. Whereas these nurses supporting nurses. So we require a lot of commitment from everybody's part. I've had to cancel all my schedules for the next 2 months for any Sunday so that I can be here. So please just show that sense of commitment. Is this worth it? I don't know. Well, some of you may say it's not worth it, but I know for some people it's worth it. Let's just give it our best, please. Do we have anything we need to check? Housekeeping issues, so that we take note of this before the next class and we put all this in place. If there is any housekeeping issues, kindly type it in the chat box so that the admin will take note and we adjust appropriately. Housekeeping issues, please. Just any concerns you have, anything you think we need to adjust on quickly, whatever we can accommodate so that we work together to perfect the learning process. Okay, so if there are no housekeeping issues, we are going to be sending the activity for the week once again. Zaki is going to post it and I'll quickly put that out there. So once we put it out there, then we can quickly work on it. So what you are expected to do, once you have done it, send it into your group where you are. If you're in group 1, you post it to your group 1. Your mentor will see it there. So just like he has done, if you analyze, if you write your maybe a part of your literature, if you just write something, just highlight it in blue. Simple sentence, compound sentence, just highlight what you think it's important there. And let's see. So let's other people in your group look at it and let your mentor critique it. So this one is just a one-off exercise and it's supposed to be very simple because most of the things he has already done them for us in class. Then don't forget, pick your article also. If you can highlight what sentence structure you can find there. Look at where the conjunctions are. Look at what makes it a compound sentence and what makes it a simple sentence, so that when you are reading article at every point in time, by one glance, you can tell whether this is good or not, or this person knows what he's doing. That is the essence of what we're doing. We're trying to apply it practically for you to be able to know what to do or to know when you see. Okay? So I really appreciate everybody for coming on board. Thank you very much. Those of you that came on, just because we said 15 minutes before the lecturer will arrive, we should be in class so that we can know ourselves, we can interact, we can chat. Thank you, everyone. And it is also best practice also for us to have our video on when we are having such lectures, because these people can be from any part of the world. And it's good they just have it, they place, they can put a picture to your name. You cannot tell where you meet them tomorrow, all right? So it's very important we get used to that. So take note of that next week so that Jerry will not log you out. I think he did that for some few people. So please, God bless us all. Have a good week. Interact very well in your group. Encourage your mentors. The more you engage them, the more they respond to you. If you are passive, they'll be passive because they are also very busy. So I wish us all the best. If you have any issues, communicate with any of the admin or send me a direct message. God bless you all and have a good week. So, Jerry, do you have anything you need to say quickly because we are going out?
Yes, is one of them. I think Mohammed raised a concern in our issue that it crosses with their prayer time as Muslim.
Oh, okay, that is 7 o'clock, right?
I think so, because he left to pray before coming back to join.
Oh, okay. We are very sorry, so sorry about that. How many minutes is the prayer? Let's see how we can make adjustments. Any Muslim brother in the house, how many minutes is the 7 o'clock prayer?
It is around 15 to 20 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes. Okay. So we are going to be negotiating with our lecturer next week if we can start. So that is also it will be dependent on you guys really, because like today, for me, I'm already pissed. If I'm already having 300 and something people registered, and for the class I'm having 50 something people, what does it say about us as nurses? Nurses are slow, they are passive. That's what people say about us, and we are still reflecting the same thing over and over again. So if we can tell him, the lecturer is a Muslim too, so he knows. So we tell him to adjust and shift the time a little bit. Some people we have had to choose this Sunday because some people are Adventists. So we need to make adjustments for all ourselves. It may not be perfect, or we'll just try. So if we can start 15 minutes earlier, we'll make that adjustment so that no matter the thing, will be towards the tail end before they go for prayer, they won't miss much, okay? And they can always come back in as soon as they finish. Is that okay? All right, so Mohammed, we are sorry about that. You ought to have brought this up anyway. Immediately we fixed the time since, so we would have adjusted. Any other observation? Okay, so if there's no other observation, thank you very much. God bless us all. Have a pleasant week.
All right, thank you, Ma. Thank you, everyone who have an interest.
Thank you, everyone. Please take out time to fill out the form.
Okay, please post evaluation form. You need to evaluate your facilitators, please. They're going to send the post evaluation form on this platform. I think, have you sent it?
Yeah, I've sent it, and I've also sent it to the groups.
Okay, I think you should send it on this platform because you just have like 60-something people that need to fill. Not everybody in the group.
It's in the chat session.
Please, kindly go through this chat section. You are going to see that link there. Evaluate the facilitators. We'll send them your feedback so that we can make adjustments before the next thing. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. It's just 5 questions, I think. So please, it's not a long thing. Tolu, I'm not seeing anything in this chat box. Abi, it's mine. Hello, Tolu?
Yeah, it's there, ma.
Okay. Okay. Have we all seen it, please? It's just 5 questions. Just kindly help us. I think 5 or 6 questions. If you are not in any group, then it means there's a problem. I don't even know how you came into the Zoom meeting in the first place. Did you see that, Jerry? This person is not in any group. So it means you did not fill the pre-assessment form and something went wrong with your registration link. So I don't know how who allowed this person into the class if the person did not fill in. Okay, so if we have filled the post the evaluation form, we can go out of the class. Thank you very much. I think maybe for next Sunday, Gary, remind me to tell them the story of how some schools just lost 1 million naira just because of flimsy excuse of not having transport fare to come and collect. Remind me, I need to share that story. All this, we cannot be sleeping as nurses though. People have gone very far now.
If you are done filling the form, you can exit the group.
Olu, are you seeing the feedback from your end? Olu?
Yes, ma. I didn't know I was muted.
Okay, are you seeing the feedback from your end? How many
Yes.
people have they finished filling so that we can log out?
Okay.
Check the back end once we have that 60-something number of people.
We have 42.
Okay, so waiting for how many people?
Well,
We have 43 now.
All right, Jerry, you can close the group, please.